we are here to help you get unstuck no matter what part of your life you feel stuck in. That's the place that we get really excited because that's the place where you have some place that you haven't been able to listen to, you haven't known how to listen to, and forward momentum is just waiting for you. And that's us. So,
In a nutshell.
Jazz hands.
jazz hands. So,
Ah, love it.
shall I launch into our topic du jour, as I'm very French today?
Absolutely. What's the hot topic today?
Thank you. The hot topic is I look fine, I'm not fine.
I'm listening.
So when you're out in the internet-osphere these days, a lot of people are talking about high-functioning depression, high-functioning anxiety. And there's a version of these that people just people who don't know you very well, and sometimes people who do know you very well, they just don't get it because you're showing up, you're going to the things, people lean on you, you answer texts, you make coffee, you remember everybody's birthdays and parties, and you show up and you do the casseroles. And somewhere underneath that, there is this specific kind of exhaustion that you don't know what to do with it because technically nothing's wrong. You're not in crisis, you're just not quite there. So today it's high functioning anxiety and depression, the kind that doesn't look like anything from the outside, the kind where you are the last person anyone would ever worry about, which is partly the point and partly the problem. And for anyone listening, if you have been waiting for things to get bad enough to take seriously, this is your show.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! So, shall we hop in with questions, or do you have thoughts, Sir Dana, before I hop in with questions?
Generally, the only thing I like more than my own thoughts is other people's thoughts. So I'm game for questions. I think this is a great framing of a very useful topic.
Mm.
I think it's an important topic too, because some people are in autopilot or something. And
right?
If somebody asks me if I'm fine and I'm not fine, they're gonna freaking hear about it. We're gonna discuss it because you asked.
So
right?
much healthier.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Like, how much time do you got?
Yeah, so much healthier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you are happily in the minority there, I think.
Probably.
Well,
I usually am.
I know the feeling. And not even so much because we're expecting that a person asks us if we're fine and we tell them that we're actually not fine, that they're going to fix it all in one big swoop, or that there's even any pressure to tell them all the reasons why you're not fine. But the thing that's powerful and super healthy about that is that it validates you approaching life authentically and with honesty, and it inspires other people to do the same. You can be in a moment where you're under lots of pressure, and maybe the person that you're telling that you're not fine to, who's asked, isn't feeling that great either. And sometimes just being able to connect there and share that moment of going, yeah, you know what, I'm actually not fine right now. Are you fine? Yeah, no, I'm not really that fine either. But we're under this pressure. We have this time and we have to get this thing done. Even just that acknowledgement gives everybody a brand new place to breathe. And it's amazing what we can get through in empathy and participation with each other. So I love it when people take the chance to tell me that they're not fine.
Well,
Because
there's a pressure to think that we're supposed to be fine all the time. Where
absolutely
did that come from?
and then there's a pressure also to deny the fact that we all know that none of us are all fine all the time. Right? So it's this weird cultural norms sandwich that we get squished into that I'm happy to dispense with because it's false.
I would listen to an album called Cultural Norm Sandwich.
Oh, cool. I would too.
I don't know what music it is, but
sounds like a Pink Floyd album.
It does sound like a Pink Floyd album.
It does.
Which I would be the
Or
first
Rush.
to buy the vinyl of.
It could be Rush.
It could be Rush too.
So, and when you said, where does that come from? I think a lot of that is our Europeanness and our Britishness showing up. Keep calm, carry on. I think a lot of it in my world is our people who were taught from parents and grandparents who had lived through trauma, and I'm fine in a trauma situation is the best way of getting through trauma because it means I can keep functioning. So don't worry about it. I can keep running. Don't worry about it. I can bar the door. Don't worry about it. I know there are wolves outside, but I'm hammering as fast as I can with the planks over the window. Poor wolves. They get a bad rap. It's not wolves. The wolves are fine.
Wolves are cute.
And in that moment, I'm fine is a signal to say, I can keep going. I can survive. I can get you to survive, which is amazing. And when we're done with that moment of trauma, what we are supposed to do as human beings and as mammals is to take a moment to shake, tremble, twitch, cry, go over the trauma again and again, get it out of our body. And we don't because we're so clever as humans in North America. And so we keep that trauma carrying forward and we stay in fight or flight mode. So that's where I think it comes from. And I think if I have one mission, I have many missions, actually. I am a woman of many missions.
I can attest to that.
Brief aside, I listened to a clip from the radio show the other day that a woman in our office had done up, and I thought, who is that woman who is so impassioned and almost yelling? And I went, oh, that's me. So apparently one of my many missions is I want to give everybody the space and the permission to get out of that fight or flight because it is costing us so much. So on that note, questions?
All I can think about now are wolves and the awesome documentary I watched on wolves years ago. Basically, the short form of it is that this wonderful team of biologists and animal behaviorists were studying this pack of wolves and followed them for like 2 years. And what they discovered was that the traits that make up the alpha male and the alpha female in the wolf pack were very different than what most people think. Most people think that it's the strongest, the best, the toughest fighter, the most aggressive, particularly the alpha male, that would be the alpha of the pack. And actually what they discovered was so remarkable because the alpha female and the alpha male of the pack were the wolves that consistently and generally expressed what we would call the most empathy. Those are the ones that led the pack because they understood the pack's needs. They were very aware of the necessity to check on each other and to make sure that all the wolves and the entire pack were functioning really well together as a team and moving forward without anybody young or injured or old falling behind. And it was a really powerful and revolutionary dynamic where even the strongest and most aggressive males and females in the pack against any other wolf that was challenging for an alpha role would defend the very effective alpha that was expressing the most empathy. And so that just it stayed with me forever, and I'm sure it will, but that's feels really powerful to the topic that we're speaking to tonight, right? Which is the power of being willing to understand your fellow human being.
Yeah.
It
And the
flies
wolves-
right in the face of the stereotype we've all been fed too.
Totally.
Right.
It was so cool.
Wow.
And where the alphas usually moved with the pack from was from the middle. They weren't leading the pack, they were in the middle of it. So they could like run up to the front, check how things are going, send out the real strong, young, healthy, aggressive wolves out the front to do the scouting. They'd check in with them. Then they could like run to the back, make sure nobody was straggling behind, make sure nobody got hurt or lost or injured. Okay, and then they could hang out in the middle and check on how everybody else was doing. And then the alpha female and the alpha male would like change roles, right? Like, so one would hang in the middle, the other one would go run up to the front and check and then run around to the back, and then they'd switch. It's just incredible to see how much literally emotional intelligence that these. I've always loved wolves and thought they've gotten a bad rap, but just how powerfully effective their communication was.
Is he watching
their
Nature
emotional-
things again?
Totally.
Yeah.
And their emotional intelligence. And it dispelled the idea of the lone wolf being something to admire. Because in a pack, there's no desire to be the lone wolf. Actually, being the lone wolf actually kind of really sucks. So, yeah, I think that's really germane to our conversation.
Germaine, nice.
And go David Suzuki and the awesome show that's been on for a million years called The Nature of Things. It was so
Wow,
cool.
that was on. Oh, wow, I'm gonna have to watch that. I've got a little 3-pound wolf on my lap listening while we talk.
Oh, so great. Yeah, so cool to see how well they took care of each other. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So you got me thinking about wolves now.
So along the vein of how do we take care of each other? Ready for question number 1?
Fire away.
Question number 1. I'm 19, first year of university. Thanks both of you for helping me make it through. I'm doing well.
I remember those days.
I'm doing well academically. I'm also having panic attacks in bathroom stalls between classes and walking back in like nothing happened. I don't want to tell my parents because I don't want to be a problem and I don't want them to worry. What do I do with this?
Mm.
And then there's one of those little faces with the squiggles. But
My first thought
hmm,
is going to sound really simplistic, but really powerful. The thing to do is tell someone, talk to someone about the stress that you're feeling and about what's not feeling fine. Because it's amazing how when we can just drop all the pretense, let a person know where we're at, how much permission that gives us to feel what we're feeling, but also gives that person permission to feel what they're feeling too. Generally speaking, if you're in an environment and you're not feeling particularly fine, there's someone in real close proximity or even in the general vicinity that is feeling the same way you are. And if you let them know, you can help each other. And sometimes that's the thing that actually gets us out of the thing that we're not feeling fine about. It's not even being helped by someone else. It's feeling like we can contribute to helping them. And that can occur mutually and reciprocally in a really powerful and, almost, I would say, miraculous way.
okay. So I'm going to devil's advocate here because I actually think that's an excellent idea. And what about the people who have reason to believe like it's not like it's a million years ago where people would say, "Mom and Dad, I'm gay." Oh my goodness, we're so happy that you told us, right? That's not everybody's reality.
Mhm.
Or, Mom and Dad, I don't know if I want to be in school anymore. Or, Mom and Dad, I did this terrible thing. There are a fair amount of people out there who forward or Mom and Dad have got so much stuff on their own plate that they feel like adding another thing
Mhm.
is too much for them.
Mhm.
So, what do you say about that?
Uh, we can tell someone else other than mom and dad.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just tell someone. Tell a classmate. Right? Tell an old friend. You
They got
know?
to find a healthy way somewhere because when you're
Yeah.
holding it in and bottling it, it becomes
Yeah.
huge. And maybe it's not even
Absolutely.
that huge, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's such a beautiful point, Nicole, because the thing that makes it huge is keeping it in,
Yeah.
right? The pressure builds, the intensity builds, the urgency builds, and then, and we all do it, and we've all done it.
Yep.
We'll probably all do it again. It's not that we do this; it's that we catch ourselves when we're doing it, right? We get aware that, hey, you know what? I'm masking right now and not really being very authentic. Most importantly, with myself, right? I'm not allowing myself to feel the depth of what I'm feeling. And therefore, that's why I'm finding it so difficult to share it with anyone because I haven't accepted it myself. But if we get permission to know that we can share with someone, that and that impacts our ability to feel more ease and permission to actually accept ourselves, then it's a game changer. And then that thing that's rattling around like a, you know, snowball rolling down an avalanche mountain, gaining momentum, twigs, steams, and maybe even people, is really an ice cube. Well, then we're not so terrified of it, right? We get it outside of rattling around in our own heads, put it out in front of us, take a look at it, and go, okay, well, yeah, what's going on with me there? And then we open ourselves up from that action to the power of being witnessed by someone, right? Someone who stands there and goes, yeah, I get it. That sucks. That looks hard. I can see why that feels difficult to you. Or, holy crap, I don't know what that is at all, but I sure understand how it's making you upset or making you feel stressed or pressured. But that alone, never mind fixing the thing, just naming it. We often call it as ising it, taking a look at what the thing actually is, as compared to just hanging in there of what you keep your fear keeps growing into you thinking that it could become. That alone, just as is the problem, take a look at it for what it is, take it outside of your head by sharing it with someone, letting them witness you there and sharing. that goes a million miles in and of itself. Never mind fixing the thing.
Okay, I do agree. I fully agree. And I think there is a place for test driving that because
Sure.
I think part of the challenge is so many of us are used to whatever we're feeling. You sit on it and you sit on it, you sit on it until it absolutely blows.
Mhm.
And then somebody says, "How are you feeling?" And you burst into tears and you say, "Everything's wrong in my life and I don't know what to do and I have to blah blah blah." And then they go, I just wanted to help you check your groceries out. Have a nice day." And we do it in an inappropriate way.
Yes.
And so
Very fair and very real.
so I do want to, we talk about all the time, one of Dana's black belt mind things is secret versus sacred.
Mhm.
So secret is I can't tell somebody because it's a big secret and somebody has told me that I can't tell anyone and there's probably a bad reason behind that and I'm scared. Secrets aren't cool. Sacred is, hey, there's this thing that I kind of want some help with and I don't know if you are going to be able to honor and respect it the way I need it honored and respected.
Mhm.
So we can test drive when somebody says, "How are you doing?" You can go, "I have had better days." And if they go, "That's nice, have a nice day," they're not the person to talk to. You can still give yourself that way to check and see who your people are.
Absolutely.
So I would say it's giving yourself permission in those small ways to warm up to the larger ways.
1,000%. And I'm glad you're being really specific and clear about that because that's certainly, my intention to give ourselves, encourage people to give themselves permission to not eat the whole meal in one bite,
Mm.
regardless of how delicious a cheesecake I could bake, which probably wouldn't be that great because I've never baked one. But let's just say something delicious. If I baked you a delicious cheesecake and I said, well, the only way that you can have any of this cheesecake is if you take a piece of the cheesecake and eat it all in one bite, right? That would make that thing very unattractive right away. And you'd question my offer of that in terms of my sincerity for you to actually enjoy this wonderful cheesecake that I slaved over, right? Bite size, take a bite at a time. And what does that translate into in practical terms? You don't have to spill your guts to everybody about all the depth and detail and urgency and pain and intensity that you might be feeling in one go, right? And I think that lines up exactly with what you're talking about in terms of quote unquote test driving. But a little bit of truth goes a tremendously long way. And the relief you can gain from just telling somebody in whatever, like the words you just used were great, Call, but I can't remember exactly what they were. But like that idea of like,
I don't listen to me.
I've had better days. That's why we record ourselves.
Mm.
I've had better days, or yeah, it's been a tough one, or yeah, I was feeling pretty great, but not so much right now. Even that being witnessed and shared and accepted and received from a person who might be feeling exactly the same thing in their own way that you're feeling right then, who was afraid to say anything. Even that creates new space, new relief, new potential for empathy and connection because it's led by something truthful and authentic, right? And we get back to being allowed to be human and three-dimensional in a situation where really the truth is that in our experience as human beings, there's always something kind of going on that's we prefer wasn't going on, small or large, difficult or really difficult. But remembering that we can touch base to that place and just share that humanity and in that moment um, is beyond powerful. So we can demystify the process and take away the false anxiety and fear that says, well, but if I start to talk, I'm going to spill my guts. I'm going to look inappropriate. I'm going to say everything all at once, everywhere, all at once. And it's just not true if we're really present in that dynamic of just sharing the little bit that is present for us at the moment in those simple forms like, hey, yeah, I had a great day yesterday, but today, if I could start it over, I probably would. Even that, right? Because it's not necessarily the words that you're saying, it's the openness and the energy with which you're speaking that will either tell the person that you're being sincere or not. And that alone, even if you don't necessarily get a great response, quote unquote, or the response you were hoping for or looking for, just the act of that alone is powerful for yourself in its own on its own terms because it takes courage to tell the truth and it takes courage to be vulnerable. Every time we speak openly and honestly, even if we think we're going to get criticized or wrong, there's a part of us that's going to connect to our self-worth and we're going to be in the living energy of, yeah, it was worth it for me to speak something truthful because I'm worthy of it. And that connection to your self-worth is immeasurable in helping you keep your head under pressure.
While all about you are losing theirs.
There you go. Beautiful. Nice.
Mm.
Way to be literary.
Kipling and I were pals.
You only make yourself sound more nerdy, but I love it.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes in and one
No, holy crap.
question.
What's happening?
So I have an answer.
I really, really want cheesecake now too.
I was thinking that as well.
That might be the incentive for me to attempt to bake my first one.
Or we could go to our friend who runs a cheesecake
That's true.
restaurant.
Yes, that has done so successfully for 40 years
Yes.
and does it on a gourmet level.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring you a piece of that cheesecake, Nicole, when
Oh,
when
yeah.
we get together.
We'll talk. We'll
Yes,
talk.
definitely.
I'm always open and available for cheesecake.
As are we. Excellent, excellent formula.
Okay, I have an answer for the next question.
Sure.
It's a very short answer.
Great.
I'm 22 and I just started my first real job. Hooray. Everyone around me seems very confident and I'm white-knuckling every single day. I'm performing competence so hard I've forgotten what I actually feel like underneath it. Does that eventually stop? I have a fast answer. No. That's my answer.
I like that you read the question and then led the charge. Normally it's me saying I have a short answer that turns into a longer answer than I intended, but that was awesome that was just brief because I will back it up with my short answer, which is also no.
No.
Yeah,
Now it does evolve.
for sure.
It does evolve.
For sure.
I remember coming home from my first week at the clinic and when I'd gone through school and I'd set up my own clinic and I had done all this, like emailed everybody I knew, tell your friends, I'm starting off, here's the deal, come see me. And I came home and I said, people are asking me this, that, and the other. Like, why are they asking me? And Dana said, because you're the professional? And I went, ah, crap. I'm the professional.
Oops. Didn't mean to do that. How did I get there? I don't know. Intense schooling for 2.5 years that you should have been done in like 5 and passing your exams. I think that it wasn't really an accident.
So my medium answer from does that stop? No, is there's different kinds of performing competence. They have actually proven we have an image of ourselves in our head that somewhat updates, but there's a version of us that's about 3 to 5. There's a version of us that's a teenager. There's a version of us that's about 20-ish. And then we generally don't update it too often after that. So we think that we are performing competence because we think we're a 20-year-old. Now this person is 22, but still we think we're a 20-year-old who is sort of faking it till they make it, when in actuality, we're 22 and we've been through university, or we're 52 and we've got a crap ton of life skills. So part of my answer is we don't actually know how much we know until we're asked to do something with it. And at least 70% of the time when we are asked to perform competence, we do so by uncovering stuff we don't know is there. So I know this wasn't the vein of the show, but you are more capable than you think you are, is my short answer. What's your medium answer? That was my medium answer.
That's a great medium answer. My medium answer is hinged upon the power of 3 absolutely wonderful words that I used to be terrified to utter.
Get some cheesecake.
That was it. There you go. Mystery solved. I was going to say use those jazz hands, but that's 4 words.
Yeah.
But this is a statement that I used to be terrified of, and even terrified to think of uttering. And now it's like my most favorite thing in the world to say on a regular basis. And those 3 words are, I don't know. I don't know is like the most glorious, full of grace statement that one can speak under pressure to shift that feeling of imposter syndrome, to shift that pressure to fake it till you make it, to also ground yourself in the present moment and actually make some progress with any problem or situation that you're trying to handle or you're tasked to lead and handle. Especially, I don't know. That is powerful because it completely outs you in a very, very useful and authentic way, which is that on some level, in some way, at some time, every single one of us has what's now so popularly being coined as a term as imposter syndrome, right? Why do I say that? Because at some point, no matter how proficient we are, no matter how competent we try to appear, we're going to run into something that we don't know the answer to. Okay?
Thank goodness.
Thank hallelujah and all things hallelujah. Because if we don't have that room, okay, if we don't break the conflation of the idea that in order to speak effectively and have any kind of authority to lead a situation or solve a situation, if we don't break the conflation between that idea and, oh, I got to know everything before I can do that, well, then we'd all not say a word. Some of the most effective, competent, efficient, good charactered people I know that are the first ones and are very quick to point out where they're missing information, where they're confused by the information that they've got, or where they realize that they don't know what to do with the information that they're given. Right? Again, characterized all those situations in the phrase, I don't know. Being able to speak that with calm and with vulnerability and authenticity and with courage expresses your connection to your self-worth. That's the part that we forget. That's the part that we shy away from because we think that to not know something means we're not perfect. And if we're not perfect, we have no right to exert or take initiative in any position that we're in or any situation that we're being asked to handle. That's such a burden and goes back to things that we've talked about in earlier talks around the difference between being driven by perfectionism and by humbly and genuinely trying to be more proficient by making progress. If we don't admit that we don't know something, we can never learn that thing. And if we don't ever learn that thing, we're not following like the natural principles of the physical and natural world, which are to evolve, right? Evolution is literally, I would say, the epitome of learning. We're learning how to better navigate and survive our environment. But if we don't admit that we don't know, we're not going to evolve. We're going to get stuck. We're going to get stagnant. We're going to get more and more and more anxious, more and more and more scared to like the situation that you described earlier, Carl, that it's all going to get blurted out in one big, inappropriate, messy mess that's going to freak people out, not because of what it is that you're saying. Really, probably the contents of that thing are pretty simple that most people don't understand if they weren't trying to digest them all at once. So that's my longer medium answer, I guess, which is still pretty long. Utilize the power of I don't know and say it as often as you need to in ways that are truly authentic. Because then the other benefit, last piece, is that what you're probably going to find is that every time you say I don't know, you're going to admit that you don't know something, which can be a little scary until you do it. But then you're also going to realize as well that there's actually probably a lot that you do know. And when we can land in the comfort and safety of giving ourselves permission to say, I don't know, we also get the benefit of realizing that, hey, maybe I know more than I thought I did. And that's where our confidence naturally grows. And anywhere confidence really is, arrogance doesn't really have a chance.
Well, and also I think it takes us to the place where, like, one of the places where I said I don't know a few years ago is now the place that I'm so excited about, which is epigenetics. And I mean, somebody didn't come in and say, Colleen, what do you know about epigenetics? Somebody came in and said, well, if this I don't understand, then if I'm working on this, I've been working on it with these 15 people, and now I'm seeing you. Like, what are you going to do that they can't do? Where could this come from if it's not like I've looked through my childhood, I've looked through my body, I've changed the supplements. Where could it be coming from? And that I don't know led me down this rabbit hole of inherited trauma, which is one of my favorite things now, just because of not because, hooray, trauma, but because it makes so many things make sense. And I honestly think we could do a show just on the beauty of not owning your trauma and recognizing the pieces of it that are inherited, because we run into so many people who are afraid to take responsibility for what happened to them because they don't want to deal with it. And then we run into so many people who are taking all the responsibility about all the things that they feel. And then, we chat, we do a little quick round on, do you think maybe that could be because you inherited that from your grandparents who had this happen? And, bam, things change. So that's one of our next shows is
Yeah.
epigenetics and why it's not your fault.
The effectiveness of that is actually quite mind blowing.
It
And
really
we work
is.
with it a lot with people, but every time I'm still like, wow, that's crazy miraculous.
Yeah. And
Because it just brings resolution so effectively
yeah,
in some ways that people just have not gotten any resolution before.
it does. And now we have to get back to I look fine, I'm not fine. Because these questions, which I think is actually part of the messaging, is maybe the reason you're not fine is not the reason you think you're not fine.
I'd say that that's all on track with everything we've been talking about so far, because that is the other aspect of this that is so simple and powerful that it's miraculous, is identifying what the real issue is.
Okay. Next question. I'm a nurse, 40 mumble, and I quote, 40 mumble years old. I take care of people for a living. When I'm struggling, I genuinely can't figure out how to be on the receiving end of that. My nervous system just doesn't seem to accept it. Is that a trained response or is it something older? My fast answer, yes.
Yeah, mine too. It's definitely a trainer response.
Oh, I was going to say both.
Yeah, funny because I'm saying trained response is a singular, but really it incorporates both of those dynamics, right? It's from what we were trained in presently in our own lives, in our own situation, and then what we were trained with ancestrally and culturally that's handed down to us that compounds it.
Yeah, I agree. I also think, I mean, as a nurse, this is going to sound weird, we're taught to lie more often. Most people think that because they are in a caring job, when somebody says, "And how are you?" we're supposed to say, "I'm absolutely fine because I'm the one that makes people fine."
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways, I mean, just the same as in our work, somebody can say, "How are you doing?" And if they say, "How are you?" I am going to say, "I'm doing great. How are you doing?" Because it's your session.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody actually looks at me and goes, "Hey, how are you? You look a little tired."
Mm-hmm.
The more I pretend and go, "I'm absolutely great. I've never been greater. I'm awesomely awesome," the more they stop trusting me because they go, "Well, either you don't know, or in which case, why should I trust you?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're lying to me and you think I can't catch it, in which case, what are you, stupid? Because I'm not." And we can do that in an appropriate way, right? So if somebody comes into the clinic and goes, "Hey, you look tired, are you okay?" I can tell them the amount of the truth that's appropriate, which is, "Oh, I am a little tired. That's really sweet of you to notice. Yeah, we've been working on this awesome project. It means I'm getting 0 to 6 hours of sleep for the last few nights, and I'm really looking forward to the weekend. But one of the things that's helping me stay awake and focus so much is having awesome people to deal with and take it away and be awesome." Right? So we can tell the truth
I agree.
and give ourselves the space for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That answer is very exciting to me because it opens up something that I think is super useful to this topic, but I'm also
Jazz hands?
aware of, yes, jazz hands are always super useful. I'm also aware of how I might like want to run away with this idea very thoroughly. So I'm going to be
Can you do the 30-second version?
yes,
And then we will.
that was what my preface was, my preamble. Uh, it's making me think about the idea of like, well, what are we actually asking when we check on someone and say, "Are you fine?" Right? If we're like really conscious and intentional and want a a fulsome answer, even if it's brief, or we're just kind of like doing the polite niceties that society says we should. "No, I'm fine. How are you?" "Fine, I'm fine." Okay. And this is a question for everyone because what I think it is that we're actually doing is we're checking in with the person to see how present they are. Right? Are you present? It's not so much like, are you doing terribly? Or are you doing really well? Are you okay? It's like, well, how present are you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's where, when you were giving your example about, sort of the professional responsibility that we have to quote unquote always be fine and always be doing well when we're about to step into our role with a person. I've had the experience where some of the best sessions I've ever had with people are where I've done my best to authentically answer their question about how I'm doing. And it's not really the words so much that dictate whether or not it's received that way. It's the energy with which it's spoken. Um, we have a pretty particular definition of the word fine. And I'm going to be deliberately cheeky and redundant here and say that we're actually very fine with our definition of the word fine, and we're fine using the word fine, because what it has come to mean, particularly for me in my work, which is really talk based, is being able to tell the difference between when someone's telling me that they're fine authentically and when someone's telling me that they're fine in a way that they're trying to mask something. And because that definition of fine is that, yeah, I'm here, some with some good stuff and some not so good stuff. It's opening up and continually opens up a space for really transparent dialogue. So as an example, people will say to me, I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing, Joe? I'm fine. And I'll go, cool. You remember what our definition of fine is, right? And they're like, yeah, I know. Some good, some bad. I'm like, yeah, some good, some bad. They'll ask me, well, then how are you? Are you fine? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine too. And I'll adhere to that definition of the way that we use that word to myself and say, yeah, there's some great stuff going on today and some tough stuff going on today, or some really fun stuff and some not so fun stuff. And even in just that single word with an awareness and an attention to the energy behind it, I can have a great rapport with someone, inside of 2 minutes, because we're setting the tone for the idea that it's okay for us to be present. And in fact, it's preferred that we're present, because I'll find out that, hey, one of the things that's going really well is that the person feels like they got to their session on time. One of the things that isn't going super well is that they really have to go to the bathroom, right? And instead of sitting there and suffering with me the whole time, they're able to go, yeah, other than the fact that I'm gonna wet myself in 30 seconds if I don't get up and go to the bathroom, I'm great. And so, like, what I'm getting at is that we can always have a better set of options when we're willing to be present with whoever we're engaged with, because it's when we're present that we're allowed to be human. And that's where I feel like we run into all these norms and all this training that says, fundamentally, oh, I can't be a bother. Don't be a bother, right? I don't want to be a bother. Okay. Well, you know what? You telling me to get out of the bathroom and interrupting me while I'm launching into what I think is some brilliant thing we're going to work on today that's going to help you is going to be more of a bother if you don't get to go than it will be if you do. So let's be present. Let's be realistic. Let's recognize that we're both human beings that are a mixture of all the things good and not so good, and fun and not so fun, and pleasant and not so unpleasant. And just handle that one at a time. Because if you can feel the permission, and it's amazing to me how even for something as fundamentally important and human like that, like going to the bathroom, I've been driving in traffic, I had 3 coffees, and I've been dying. And 25 minutes, I find out that you've had to pee since before you walked in the room. Okay. I'm like, well, why don't we just deal with that at the beginning? Because then you'll be more relaxed. I'll be more relaxed, feeling like you're relaxed. I won't misread the tension in the room as anything else other than something simple and easily remedied by you just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a bit of a bother right now. I'm going to run to the bathroom. Right? And it's a very almost simple and kind of funny and silly example, but it's a clear one, and it sets the tone for giving ourselves permission to handle the things that we actually need, as opposed to only presenting like a person who's never going to need anything and is only there to express themselves in a way that is the least bother.
So one of the other questions, which I actually think follows in the heels of that, how do you know when the gap between how you're presenting and how you're actually feeling has gotten too wide to ignore? And I think it follows on the heels of that. And I think my answer to that is if it's there, it's too wide to ignore. Because that comes back to keep calm, carry on. That comes back to tell your body that you are still in a state of trauma. That comes back to you have to pretend and be okay, and other people won't be okay unless you're okay. That comes down to, that the children should be seen and not heard grows into the whoever should be seen and not heard. So I think so much of what we're doing right now as a society is we are unlearning how to ignore ourselves
Yeah,
for the quote unquote greater good.
I think that's super well said.
And I think that as we allow ourselves and our feelings to matter, not more than anybody else's feelings, but equally to other people's feelings, it gives us all space to be human again and to start moving forward rather than just surviving through it.
Yeah, I think it's part of the dynamic that allows us to move out of surviving and actually start moving into the momentum of and actually start thriving.
Ages ago, years ago now, I went to a weekend workshop with a Buddhist teacher, which I did not realize involved so much meditation, which probably is good that I didn't know that because I wouldn't have gone. And it was actually a great weekend. And one of the things that I actually found really fascinating was this person talking about right action. And for this, I believe it was Thai Forest Monastery Buddhism, this gentleman talked about right action as being the thing that preferably ends suffering for the other person and yourself, and at the very least does not cause suffering for the other person and yourself. And I feel like so many times we are trained to take care of the other person and suffering for the other person, make sure the other person doesn't have any problems caused because of you. And then we cause suffering for ourselves. And then we hit a point where we go, screw that. I can't handle that anymore. And then we go, I don't care what's going on with you. I am ending suffering for myself. I am making choices for myself. And then we do that once or twice or 20 times. And then we go, I feel like a jerk. And then we go back and we just ping pong between the other or ourselves, as opposed to that beautifully simple attempt of I'm going to make sure I don't cause suffering for me or you. And so many things, like so many choices become a lot easier when that's all we're doing.
Big time. That brings to mind another Buddhist saying, actually, which is, be the change you want to see in the world. Right. So here we are talking about, acting fine when we're not fine and trying to continue to look like we're fine when we're very aware that we're definitely not fine. One of the most powerful ways that we can impact that for others is by being willing to do it ourselves. And for it to be fine to not be fine, right? And again, I sort of say that in a cheeky way because I'm attaching it to the definitions that we were just talking about. The idea of, I can be present with the fact that some things felt really good today and feel really good right now, and some things don't. I can be present to that. I can be present to the fact that, I'm super excited to be on our conversation right now and enjoying it immensely, and also be present with the fact that my shoulder hurts from an old injury. Like it's okay. And for me personally, what feels so valuable about that kind of just transparent, authentic presence is that I'm very aware of my capacity for things, right? It's kind of cool that I can acknowledge that my shoulder hurts, but be so present and so caught up and so swept up in the joy of my conversation, like I'm having right now, that I forgot about it for a while. That's pretty cool. I like that. Better than any Advil that I could ever take. But I mean, and maybe because I'm actually not actively using my shoulder right now in terms of lifting anything or performing anything physical, it's easier to do that. But I think the same still applies. And I've certainly appreciated, buddies of mine helping me carry a new couch up the stairs when, I know he's sprained his ankle a couple weeks ago. We were at the dojo. Like, I don't know. There's just a place where we can really connect to value and meaning by exchanging things that are authentically present to us.
But I was just thinking of one of my favorite Christmases. I have a lot of really lovely Christmas memories. My family was really big on Christmas. My mom was like Christmas queen. And yet, with all that, one of my favorite Christmases with a relative who I will not say who that relative was because I'm not going to out them if they have not told the story themselves, is there was a bit of a situation and things were a little bit challenging, shall we say, during the Christmas holidays. And so, as this person was walking out of the room and I was walking in, I just, looked at them and said quietly, how are you doing? And with this lovely smile on their face like this, and I'm sure you can hear the smile, they said, just shoot me now. And I laughed and kept going. And then I dealt with the situation that they were dealing with for a little while. And then I walked out of the room and they walked in and they said, how was it? And I went, just shoot me now. And we are not advocating shooting people, but it became the just shoot me now Christmas. In my head, at least. I don't know if it was for them, but it was awesome because it wasn't, oh, I'm this terrible person who can't handle this or is annoyed by this person or is frustrated by this. It was this shared camaraderie of, I'm not sure how to handle this. Do you know? No. Okay. And as soon as one of us gets a clue, we'll tell the other one, oh, the third person is saying, just shoot me now. Okay. Right? It gives us space not only to not be perfect, but to celebrate not being perfect in those moments.
Well,
no one was actually shot.
No shooting was had during the course of said Christmas.
I should clarify that.
Yes. If anyone is listening to this, no.
And I have to say, and it was in the Great White North, so there was guns around.
But again, part of the reason that I enjoy that, my mom told a story about a friend of hers who had I will not swear on air, but she had the F at Christmas because she was the one who made Christmas happen and she did the baking and the decorating and the la la la. And so she was outside with her family and her kids were going, why are we out here? This is stupid. And her husband was like, oh, do we have to hang that? No, you're doing it wrong. And she just looked at them and she took the lights and she threw them at the tree and she said, F it, and walked inside. And they came in and go, well, okay, sorry. Okay, can you come fix it? And she went, no.
Yeah.
It's the F it Christmas. And part of, again, why I love that story is that she had that moment. And I believe her family the next Christmas was quite appreciative of doing all the things together, realizing they didn't just magically happen. Which is part of the I feel fine, I'm not fine, is you don't have to do it all on your own. Or I look fine, I'm not fine. But part of it is that she would tell other people about it being the F at Christmas, and I'd watch people cackle. Like they were so tickled with this idea of, wait, we can just tell the truth? Wait, we can just stop doing the things? And it comes down to, oh, wait, we can just be free to have our feelings. And this comes back to the moral of the story today, right? You are allowed to have your feelings. You don't have to take them out on other people. You don't have to make everybody sit down and listen to a diatribe on why woe is you. But you can have your feelings.
Well, it also speaks to the idea that the more you accept your feelings, the less likely you are to take them out on anybody else. Because you'll understand them better. You'll get more information about them. And it'll also remind you of what sharing is, why it's important, and where it starts. Right? So if you're not sharing with yourself, honestly and authentically, you're gonna have a tough time sharing with other people. But the minute that you share from what I'm gonna call a connected place, right? Where you're like, hey, no, I got to be honest with myself about how I'm feeling because it's valuable for me to be honest. And I can only be as honest with myself as I am with other people. It reminds you as well, too, that how powerful sharing actually is for beings and creatures like humans that are so dependent on each other for survival, fundamentally, right? We're here to participate with each other. We're here to share with each other. When we remember that even sharing something that we're suffering through can have value, not because it's the suffering, but because it's sharing. And something as quote unquote negative as sharing can become as suffering can become valuable by sharing it. Boy, you're going to really get reinforced in the idea of how powerful sharing genuinely actually is.
In our 2 minutes left, I'm going to read this one and answer again
2 minutes left.
because I'm all about the answers today. What does the body do with everything the face doesn't show?
Ooh,
And
that's a you one for sure. But I've certainly got answers to that.
I was going to say that's a whole show in itself.
Exactly.
Might
be a really great one to follow up on next week.
Yeah, and some of it is, yeah, it might be a good one for next week.
Honestly.
Some of it is Dorian Gray's it, right? Just because it's not showing on your face doesn't mean it's not showing. And it can come across as a little woo-woo, or somebody will be going, oh, I have a headache, so what am I, I have sciatica, who's a pain in the butt. And honestly, it does work 7 times out of 10 because the body can get pretty literal. But if you decide not to show things, your body still feels the chemicals of them. And if there is trauma associated, your body still hangs on to that tension and trauma. And now you're just playing the waiting game as your body slowly but surely turns up the volume. So what does your body do with everything the face doesn't show? It stores it because it loves you, and it turns up the volume, and then it waits for your head to explode. And then it goes, hooray, you're listening. And once you're listening, it can be relatively easy to shift things, I have to say.
Your nervous system is always paying attention, fundamentally.
Oh, there's a whole thing about mitochondria. Oh, we can't talk about mitochondria. Next time, we're going to talk about mitochondria. We all have aliens living inside our cells, and that has to do with this question. That's my teaser for next time. Mitochondrial DNA is not, it's bacteria. We are full of tiny little creatures taking care of us in ways that nobody was taught.
I always thought I was an alien.
You are very much. I will not dissuade you from that notion. So next time we're talking about what does the body do with the things you don't show, we're talking about mitochondrial DNA, and we're talking about Dana being an alien.
I'm signing up for that conversation.
If anyone has any preferences in those, please email and let us know.
And with that, perfect time for jazz hands. Eddie's doing jazz paws. And well, we got some time for shameless self-promotion. Let's do that.
I feel like we're doing the same shameless self-promotion because I keep adding to the things that are almost ready to go. So we almost have some amazing posters and art ready to go. Hopefully that will be in the next little while. We very much almost have some audios ready to go. There's a person who's helping me do the edits, and they're awesome. So we almost have some audios ready to go. So as you are getting ready for fabulous new things, feel free to go over to thedigitaldojo.net and play with the things that are there so that you can vote on our next audios so we know what to build next. And so you can listen to some of the things that might pique your curiosity to let us know what you would like more of. And you can do all sorts of things like learning how to do nap on yourself and take the white belt mind to figure out what the heck Dana's talking about. That is my answer.
That's a great answer. Check us on thedigitaldojo.net anytime you want any information about anything that you might have heard in our conversations here with the lovely and awesome Nicole. We are on all major social media platforms, from Pinterest to the YouTubes, and pretty much all stops in between. I think minus TikTok. But
can't do TikTok, man.
We've got all kinds of information available to you in all kinds of forms that are that is ready and accessible 24/7. If any of that gets interesting enough for you to want to dive in a little bit deeper and enter one of our structured and priced programs, for all News for the Soul listeners, there is a 50% discount for the whole of 2026 because we're just that excited to get you invited to the conversation. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know what ideas and thoughts are interesting to you, particularly if we've never addressed them before, and can't wait to meet you there at thedigitaldojo.net.